Our first actress, it's her third visit to Hall H in the last couple of days, which I think is some sort of record. You'll see her this fall in Hunger Games, Mockingjay Part 2, and a little movie called Star Wars, The Force Awakens. But you know and love her as the great and noble Brienne of Tarth on Game of Thrones. Please welcome Gwendoline Christie. Our next actress is probably the only one who can make us forget about Captain America, playing a 1940s spy who always knows her own value. From Marvel's Agent Carter, please welcome Hayley Atwell. We've been waiting a really long time for the right woman to step into Wonder Woman's boots. From the upcoming Batman vs. Superman, please welcome Gal Gadot. Next up is the teacher who's been schooling the Doctor in the ways of humanity. Please welcome from Doctor Who, Jenna Coleman. And last, and certainly not least, because I don't even know where to start with this next actress, from hobbling James Caan in Misery to commanding the room as a disembodied head in American Horror Story Coven, to rocking the bearded look on Freak Show, this Oscar-winning actress is an ass-kicking icon. Please welcome Kathy Bates. Everybody loves Kathy Bates.
I love you, Kathy.
I love you, Kathy.
Thank you. Love you.
Hi, everybody. Welcome. Thanks for being here. This has been such a great time this year for interesting and complex female characters like yours, and you are the women that young girls are now looking up to. So I wanted to start by hearing who were the ass-kicking characters in pop culture that inspired you when you were growing up. Who wants to start?
Who's going to go first?
I'll start.
There we go.
I'm going to go with Betty Davis because she had gravitas. She was complicated, formidable, notorious, incredibly talented, bold, opinionated, at a time when that didn't really seem to be the norm for women. And she, in every role that I saw her play, she was dynamic and quite brilliant. And I just fell in love with her, really.
Good one.
Good one. I'm gonna go for my mother, my Ima. Well, she really gave me and my sister, she has given me and my sister everything that made us who we are today. I think the key thing is endless love, but she always made us feel like we were the best. And she always making us believe in ourselves and follow our dreams and work hard. So this one is for my Ima.
That's good.
For me, I always admired this particular woman that when I was young and watching films seemed to be outside of the norm and seemed to be something that maybe I could aspire to, maybe I could follow, which was Sigourney Weaver in Alien. Yeah. Because of that strength and power, but not forsaking her femininity and good old-fashioned ass-kicking.
Yep.
I always enjoyed Katharine Hepburn in Bringing Up Baby. Not being afraid to ask questions, not being afraid to persevere, and to have a mind and a voice. I love that film.
Come on. Kathy, do you have one?
Does Gandhi count? I think I would have to go with what Gal said. My mother was a real ass kicker too. Even though she was born in 1907, she was a real tough character, and she taught me to be tough, and I wouldn't be sitting here today in front of all of you all if it hadn't been for her.
Good one. Good. So I was wondering if any of you were going to say Wonder Woman, which brings me to Gal, because I think a lot of us probably also looked up to Wonder Woman growing up. And I just wanted to hear from you what it was like to put on Wonder Woman's costume the very first time.
Wow. Where do I begin? So basically 3 days after I got cast for the movie, they flew me to Michigan, and I got into this for fitting. And I got into this huge room filled of images of me as Wonder Woman. It blew my mind. And then we got into another room, and then I saw the costume for the first time, and we tried it on. And it was like an out-of-body experience, because there I was, little Gal from Israel, becoming Wonder Woman. So and I love it, and I love the way they made the costume look. I think it really represents the Wonder Woman of today. And I'm very, very grateful to be the one who's going to bring her to life.
Yep. We are too. Now, you didn't even know that was the part you were auditioning for when you first auditioned, right?
Oh, yeah, no. I did. So 2 years ago, I was in Los Angeles, and they told me that Warner Brothers wanted to see me, to audition me, they wanted me to audition to something. I didn't know what it was. And I did an audition, and I didn't know what it was for, and got back to Israel, and everything was great. And then Zack Snyder, the fabulous director, called me, and he was like, well, we're gonna need to see you for a camera test. Do you know what you're testing for? And I said, no. And he said, do you have Wonder Woman in Israel? My jaw dropped. I was dead for a second, and then I came back to life. And I tried to put on my best cool voice, and I was like, yeah, of course, yeah. And that was it. And
amazing.
Yeah.
That's great.
The rest is history. Yeah.
Gwendolyn, I know that you are not allowed to tell us anything really about Star Wars or your character, but I do want to know if you could tell us if she could take Brienne in a fight.
Of course.
Is that too secretive? That might be a secret too.
It's just impossible. I think it would be like two worlds meeting and possibly just merging and becoming one. Is that all right?
Yeah, that's great. We all love Brienne, and everyone feels so strongly about her, and we all want really great things for her, I think, because she's such, it's true. And I know that this is not possible, but if you could write the rest of Brienne's story, what would her happy ending look like?
Oh, good Lord, your questions are tough, aren't they? Well, I think where we've seen Brienne up to this point, that we have loved her because she's so dedicated to an overriding sense of moral good, that she pledges an oath to Catelyn Stark to return the Stark girls to safety. And that moment in the final episode, oh gosh, spoiler alert, but there's something involving a candle, and it isn't good. But I think what we'd like to see now is we'd really like to see her redeem herself again. But what I love about that terribly disappointing incident was although Brienne of Tarth is a character in a show, but it made us see her humanity and how we all fail, and even the strongest badass women fail. And as long as you try and redeem yourself again and keep going and try to achieve your goals in pursuit of the greater good, then that's all you can do.
Right. That's great. Perfect. Well, I was wondering also, because I feel like, there must be a sense of ownership for all of you when you're playing your characters. And I was wondering, has there ever been a time when you've had to say to a showrunner or to a director, I don't think she would say this. I don't think that she would do that.
Of course.
Yeah.
No, really. Now I get it more as a mother. I have a 3-year-old daughter. And for me, responsibility is something that goes hand in hand with my character development. And luckily, I was able to communicate all the problems I had with my characters, with the directors that I've worked with, and they were all men, and we always made it better and figured it out. So yes, definitely. I think, no?
Anyone else?
Jump in, come on.
I'll jump in. It's not so much as things that she wouldn't say, but it often involves me just going, I don't think she would be naked in this scene. There's no need for that, and I'm not doing it just to fulfill your weird little fantasy.
Haley, was it important for you and your showrunners to really, like, what was important to bring out with Peggy when you brought her out from the Captain America world into her own show?
Well, she didn't have much screen time on Cap, the first Avenger. I mean, we got a sense that she was capable and she was strong and she was kick-ass and she was tough. But I just felt that that kind of didn't really do her much service or justice, really, because in the show, my main thing was being able to show the vulnerabilities of her, the psychological and emotional cost of grieving over Steve, and also trying to make her way in the world. And I think, for me as well, you're playing this, kind of what Gwendolyn was saying, you're playing these incredibly strong characters, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they don't find life incredibly difficult and hard. And it's almost impossible to maintain that sense of empowerment all the time. And I wanted to show a side of Peggy that really struggled and had moments of isolation and self-doubt, because I think that's something that every person on the planet, to their own extent, can relate to, and that makes her so much more human and appealing to an audience.
Yeah, I agree with that. Now, I have to ask you, I learned while researching, there's a group of fans called the Cardinelli Shippers.
Yeah.
Would you care to explain what that is, and did it surprise you when that started to happen?
So Cardinelli is basically, still don't quite understand the word shipping, but I suppose it's a nice thing. But they love the idea of Angie, the waitress who's Carter's friend, and Carter herself to have a bit of a love-in, I suppose. And which was, fantastic. And I think one of the reasons is not just kind of the enjoyment of what that would be. But I think it's quite rare on television these days to see women who are in a scene together not talking about the men. Having women who are talking together, genuinely loving each other, supporting each other, caring for each other, and not in competition with each other, not being catty and battling, but have a genuine affection for each other. And I think that was a very important part for Lindsay Fonseca and myself to bring out as a genuine relationship there, which is something that, again, I can relate to in my own life with my own girlfriends. And I think that kind of natural affection meant that, luckily the fans took that relationship into their hearts, and then they just want them to kiss.
That's how it always ends. Kathy, disembodied head, beard. What does Ryan Murphy have in store for you? Next?
I don't know. This last season, I was just afraid after they wrapped the chains around my head and it popped off. I was terrified somebody was going to have to pick it up and drag it around with them for the rest of the season. I can't. I've just really gotten the first couple of scripts of Hotel. I know I'm running the hotel, which is very exciting. That'll be fun. And I know I say this every season, but I don't know how our writers do it. They've just created a completely different, it's almost like a completely different way of telling a story with wonderful characters. Everybody's just going to be knocked out of their seats when they see this. So I don't know if my head will play in any part of that. I haven't gotten that far, but I've had a blast working on the show, so I just feel very, very lucky.
Yeah. You've done so much in both TV and film, and I'm wondering if you feel like there's one or the other that's more hospitable to women nowadays.
Well, you talked earlier about kicking ass, and it's wonderful that Gal is getting to play a kick-ass lady, and a lot of these young women here. I think you know, when you're in a big film like that, it's wonderful to have a really kick-ass part. And I think a lot of us are going to television because the writing is so wonderful now.
Right.
And it's just a place for all of us as actors to get to play dream characters that many of us wouldn't have an opportunity to do. And it's fun. I mean, I worked with Dustin Hoffman years and years ago, and he gave me my first job really as a character on his first movie, my first movie with him. And he said recently that, you know, movies have kind of, you know, it's not as interesting for actors unless you can play these big parts, but TV is where it's really at now, that the writing is great, and anyway, I guess I've said it.
What about the rest of you? Do you have a feel of one versus the other for TV and film?
I suppose it's nice to have more than 90 minutes or more than 2 hours with a character. You know, you get to go through seasons, or you get to have 12 episodes to really play and explore and throw into different situations. So that's the really nice thing about TV and a TV series, I suppose.
Yeah. You going to say something?
Yeah, no, that's exactly what I think as well.
Sorry, I stole your answer.
No, it's fine. It feels like there's a new golden age for television, and a lot of people in the film industry are coming to television. You know, the people who've written films are, you know, writing TV now, and directors and actors. There's no longer a stigma attached by going, you're either a TV actor or a movie actor. You can do both. And I think there is just, you get more of an opportunity to explore a character over a longer period of time.
Yeah. Jenna, Clara started off as such a sort of mysterious figure, and now that she shed some of that, she's a fully actualized woman. And I was wondering, was there a moment for you in a script or while you were shooting when you feel like she really came alive for you?
I have to say, the first season for me was so fun because I got to play 3 different versions of essentially the same character. Welcome to sci-fi. It's kind of imagining the exact same essence of a character, but if they had grown up in Victorian England, if they had grown up in future space, or if they'd grown up right now in contemporary London. So that was really fun, the first series. But I suppose actually getting to see the day in and day out and school teacher and her on her home life and explore that kind of domestic element and then see her go off into the epic. Those 2 contrasting things are quite interesting, I think.
And I'm curious, everything that we saw last season with Master and Missy, what are your thoughts about a woman maybe one day playing the Doctor?
I think it's, obviously, I think it's absolutely possible. There's absolutely no reason why not. The Doctor is obviously a Time Lord, as is the Master, but I think Peter Capaldi is doing the most wonderful job, so there isn't currently a vacancy. And B, I think it depends on the person, actually, and it depends on what direction the show is going to take. And I think Stephen Moffat's right in that he casts the person at the right time in which to send the show in a certain direction. So, of course, it's absolutely possible, and I'm sure will happen at some point.
Yeah, I mean, any volunteers from this panel, I think would work out well, right? I'm curious because there has been so much improvement for women in the industry, and there's been a lot of attention this year on changing things for equality, but I am curious to know what challenges you have faced that maybe your male counterparts have not.
Having to run in heels?
Yeah, that's the main one.
That's a real thing.
I can speak for myself, but luckily I never experienced such thing. And I've been working in a very male-dominated environment, shooting the Fast and the Furious franchise and Superman versus Batman. And I was privileged enough to be working with men who has a lot of respect for women. Having said that, I always feel like women don't get the same volume, the same space as men do. And that's why it's always so important for me to show the cooler side of women, to show the strong women, the amazing side of women. It was never about women versus men, because I love them both, but it was always about showing how amazing we are, because we are.
Yeah.
You are. You are.
I have to say I found it incredibly difficult. I found that initially when I left drama school, the world was, 10 years ago, the world was a less embracing place than it is now, because I don't think the internet was so available to everybody. And the internet, I feel, seems to have made people's frame of reference so much more diverse. And as a consequence, what we're seeing is characters like the ones that all the women here play are being embraced because women want to see themselves being more represented in a more realistic way, I think.
Right. Yeah.
And not just women, men, everybody wants to see something. We're all so unique that that's what we want to see. And we want to see people that we can relate to, or people that are so vastly different from us that somehow through the journey of storytelling, we find out we're not so different after all. And I do feel that starting to happen, and I'm very grateful for that.
Bravo.
That's amazing.
And anybody else? No.
I don't know how to follow that. That was extraordinary.
Yeah, it's hard to follow that. I'm being told we're going to go to the audience for an audience Q&A. So line up if you have a question for these women. I think we have someone coming.
Sorry, I'm actually really nervous. I'm a big fan of like Gal Gadot and Hayley Atwell and Gwendolyn
So
Christie.
sweet.
All of you.
We're nervous too. It's all good. Let's just breathe.
So I recently, I bought a Wonder Woman shirt recently, and a lot of people have met with it with a lot of antagonizing and telling me how it's wrong and I shouldn't be able to wear it. And
Why? Why do you think?
I tell them why can't women can wear Batman shirts, but I can't wear Wonder Woman.
Of course you can.
She-
Of course you can. Of course you can.
It's just really hard. Someone told me you're really brave to wear that Wonder Woman shirt, and it just felt so.
Oh, you know.
Huh? And I
It
just
means a lot about his confidence in his sexual, confidence.
And I just wanted to know what you guys, because I also want to get a Peggy Carter, Brienne of Tarth, and Captain Phasma later on. What you guys think of all that?
Well, you're going to be the inspiration. You're going to be the hero that says
The
women are great.
trendsetter.
And the trendsetter, exactly.
Yeah.
So we love you. You're fantastic.
Hearing Agent Carter and Wonder Woman and Brienne all say that to me makes me feel like I'm...
It's real. Woo! And now you can fly too. Not really, but
I won't try, but thank you so much. I appreciate it very much.
thank you. You're doing well.
Hey, ladies.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
I actually have a shirt of the women who kick ass that I like. Some of them. But
So settled, right? So elegant. Women who kick ass. Yeah.
definitely.
Sorry.
You're huge inspirations, all of you. I enjoy you so much. I have a question for Gal.
Yes. Nice
Gal.
pronunciation.
את זאת שעשית את המסע הכי
איזה מתוק אתה.
הכי ארוך, בוא נגיד, להגיע לפה. אף אחד פה לא עשתה את המסע שאת עשית, כאילו, מהמדינה הקטנה שלנו.
איך אני מתרגשת לשמוע עברית, אני יכולה לבחור.
Gal, you're going to have to
עד לפה,
translate.
ורציתי שתספרי קצת על המסע הזה.
Do you want to ask the question in English?
Okay, so
we can
I
fill you guys
said
in.
that, yeah, I said that I think that Gal made the biggest journey. I mean, no offense to you ladies, but we have a very small country, and to break out of it, it's exponentially, I think I'm using that right, harder. So I wanted her to tell us a little bit about that journey.
And I was just so moved by the fact that someone just spoke Hebrew to me. I gotta tell you that I really believe now that it doesn't matter where you come from and how small the country you're coming from is, or as long as you aspire things, as long as you dream and you aim high, all the cliches are right, really. And I think that if you're persistent and if you're good and if you're trying your best and being proactive, at the end of the day, for me, because I've tried for years, I've been doing this for 8 years, and really now this is the biggest thing for me. And I really feel that it's a combination of being prepared and having the opportunity and a lot of luck and having all of these elements together at the right moment. So I'm very grateful, and I do think that everyone can achieve their dreams. I do. It sounds so big, but I do. תודה לך. תודה מותק.
Hi, I'm Jess. My question is for Gwendolyn and Haley. So you both play characters that are a bit out of time, and there are other characters, typically men, but occasionally women, who don't treat you like we treat other women today. And I know that you, as a character, have to respond accordingly, but are there ever instances where you want to respond in your own manner, and if so, how?
All the time with violence.
Oh, you're amazing.
That's a joke.
Well, I think one of the things I like about the way that Peggy deals with it is that she's very resourceful and she uses what she has around her and her qualities. So she uses her violence, yes, but her wit and her charm and her intelligence, and at times when she needs to, her sexuality, but she doesn't completely depend upon it. So she's dynamic in that way, and I think that I look up to the way the writers have created her as someone who is complicated and multifaceted and has the ability to stand up for who she is and, as she says, to know her value. And I think it's inspired me to try and do the same. But also, you can't play a character like that within an industry that doesn't support that character. And the thing with Marvel is that they've been incredibly supportive of me as an actor. And I don't feel like I'm an actress coming. I feel actually that kind of transcends that. I feel genderless. I feel seen and recognized as a human being, independent of my sex. And that's the reason why they've been able to create Peggy Carter, is because that's what they also stand for.
Oh, Ben, what?
Hi. Hello. Hi, I'm Jane, and my question is to everybody who is kicking ass up there. So what is the most challenging stunts action you have ever did yourself on set, and what's the stories behind it?
And what's the story behind it, was that?
Yes.
Yeah.
And also like the stories behind it.
Kathy, do you want to talk about wrestling James Caan?
Yeah, well, that's the first thing that, probably that was the hardest thing I ever had to do. And Dave Ellis, our stunt director and coordinator, we actually worked on the stunt even before we started filming. And it was tough. We used, stand-ins, but a lot of the stuff we did ourselves, and the hardest part was getting my head slammed into the floor. That was hard. I didn't think I would cry at the end of that, but I did. So I guess that was the hardest, that I've ever had to do. Next.
Yeah, well, I did I think it's episode 5 of the first season, and there's a fight sequence in a diner that Peggy does. And I was wearing, the stockings, the Spanx, the slip, the mic pack, the harness, the pencil skirt, the heels. And I also, that's challenging physically, but then I also I learnt these fight sequences as kind of dance routines almost. They're kind of choreographed in that way, and then you put them together and throw a punch in and it becomes kind of an aggressive fight scene. But I do remember doing this one move where I had to duck, and I kept on doing this kind of move where it was a bit like, oh, like that. And the stunt coordinator came up to me and she was like, darling, you're not in a club. Although she was American, so she didn't sound that to it. She's like, darling, you're not in the club. But I just went, oh, yeah, of course, sorry. But because she planted that seed in my head, the camera rolled, and I just had Nicki Minaj's Anaconda in my head. The whole sequence. So when I look back at that sequence, that's all I'm thinking about. So that was tricky.
That's a good one.
I think mine's probably been, I've been hanging upside down a lot, which sounds quite easy, but it's not. And it's what happens is you only get to hang upside down in like 30-second spurts. And we had about a 12-page scene, and we were actually in Tenerife at high altitudes as well. So we managed to get through the day, but apparently it wasn't as hard for me, but the actor I was working with now has like this intense fear of upside down people and feels that she has to talk really, really quickly and get through a scene because she could kind of just see blood pouring to the head, I think. So that's probably mine.
Gwendolyn, do you have one?
I do. I think it's definitely Brienne's fight with the Hound. And that was the most grueling fight. We spent 2 months training for it, and we trained 3 or 4 days a week for 6 to 8 hours a day, just trying to build up the strength necessary to carry out the fight, to fight Rory McCann, who's a 6'7" man that's certainly a lot stronger than I am. But the characters are of the same level of strength, so I had to do quite a lot of pretending to try and carry that one off. But more than that, exactly as you say, you learn the fight as a dance, and then it's actually the story that you're telling that infuses it with something else. And we were always very aware it was a story that was happening, and we learned this in the stunt tent in Belfast on a level floor in a tent. We got to the location, and I was running backwards, sword fighting up a hill. It was also freak weather conditions in Iceland. It was boiling hot. Oh, God. And I had the real armor on. The face was casseroling in the sun. And there was one moment, if you're familiar with the fight, where Brienne punches the Hound somewhere extremely intimate. And we'd rehearsed it so we knew where that punch went, how we did it so it was fake, so no one got hurt. And then just before the take, Rory McCann said, "Do it for real." And I said, I'm sorry. And he said, "Do it for real." And what you see in that fight is a genuine connection of fist and undercarriage.
Wow.
Oh, we have time for one more question.
Okay, this question goes to Gal.
Yes.
So there have been, can you confirm Invisible Jet? Just kidding, okay.
Okay, good, because I was about to tell you.
Either way, there have been a lot of iterations of Wonder Woman throughout the source material of your character. Did you have any difficulty researching your part, and is there a particular Wonder Woman story you enjoyed or feature of Wonder Woman?
Oh, wow. Well, with this movie, I came... You're so sweet, I miss my daughter. With this movie, I was lucky enough to... Well, Zack Snyder is a master when it comes to this genre. He's a master, period. So he structured the whole idea of the Wonder Woman of today. He knows what he wants, and he knows how to get it. And after they cast me for the role, we had a lot of discussion about who should be the best Wonder Woman of today. I cannot say much because I still need you guys to go and see the movie, but I can just say that I was very, very privileged to go through this beautiful, interesting research with Zach. And I just can't wait for you guys to see what we've made for you, and there's so much more to come. But it's inspiring for me. I'm inspired by Wonder Woman. I go to bed and I dream of her, but it's amazing. It's gonna be, it's gonna be great.
Well, we're all inspired by all of you. Women Who Kick Ass, thank you so much for all coming. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.